Let us begin with the lie. The lie that every young black boy in Chicago, every brown-skinned girl in Atlanta, every ancestor of those brought low by chains was from Africa exclusively. That somehow these so-called Negroes were wandering foreigners placed here by fate, by slave ships, and by sorrow. But that is not the whole truth. That is not our truth. This chapter is the first strike of the war drum, and the enemy is misclassification. When I found the Buzzard Clan scrolls, a ragged composition of oral histories, handwritten accounts, maps without nation states, and markings from what seemed like a council of invisible chiefs, I knew this was not merely a family myth. It was revelation. It was correction. It was resurrection. Ra-Allah, a name whispered like thunder in the woods of the Old South, speaks of a time before we were renamed, recoded, and rewritten. His voice, buried under decades of deliberate amnesia, surfaces now like a living omen to all who will listen. He says plainly, we were never lost. They simply renamed the roads. The great misnaming is the theft of identity without chains. It is being made foreign on your native land. The language of lies. The term Negro did not always exist. Neither did black in the context of racial caste. These are terms forged by colonialism's bureaucrats, used to flatten a vast network of tribes, towns, chiefdoms, and sovereign peoples into one undifferentiated underclass. As Dr. Carter G. Woodson exposed in The Miseducation of the Negro, this misclassification wasn't ignorance, it was design. Many native nations east of the Mississippi, including the Yamasee, Washita, Catawba, and Choctaw, were described in early colonial records as Negroes, mulattoes, or simply free-colored persons. Their language was native, their burial rites were native, their sovereignty was native, but by the 1800s, they were all just black, and being black meant you had no homeland here, no treaty rights, no tribal memory, no land to inherit. The erasure was spiritual warfare, of census and chains. In 1830, the U.S. Census began reclassifying indigenous people who did not live on reservations as free Negroes. This included Gullah in South Carolina, Black Seminoles in Florida, and Creek descendants across Georgia and Alabama. If you didn't wear feathers and live on federally designated land, your indigeneity was revoked. Your past was stolen by ink. This is why Ra-Allah called them the invisible chiefs, because their grandchildren walk among us today, unaware of the kingdoms from which they descend. Their names were changed, their sacred mounds plowed under, their children baptized in the colonial tongue and made to pledge allegiance to a nation that hunted their bloodlines like deer. African romanticism, a convenient replacement. Alex Haley, with his book Roots, gave a compelling narrative, but it was a needle laced with anesthesia. For every tale of African origin, there are 10 burial grounds in Mississippi and Carolina that predate European colonization by centuries. The African narrative soothed the discomfort of reckoning with native genocide. It was cleaner to believe we were only visitors. But we were not visitors. We were invaded. Many freedmen of the 1800s were not Africans freshly emancipated. They were indigenous men who had been forced to choose between death, slavery, or assimilation. They chose to survive. Their descendants now crowd urban projects, believing themselves unrooted. The Buzzard Clan scrolls speak of those men. They never fled. They watched the betrayal of the Buffalo Soldiers, the breaking of the Trail of Tears, and the burning of Tulsa. They watched, then they vanished, not to run, but to wait. Reawakening the names. Ra-Allah speaks of a sacred practice, naming restoration. He tells us to bury black as a term of identity and to reclaim our tribal affiliations. Buzzard Clan, Bear Clan, Wind Tribe, Fire People. These were our codes before the state stamped us with false designations. This reclamation is not romanticism, it is historical resistance. Our surnames still whisper clues. Washington, Jefferson, Freeman, Rivers, Goins, Chavis. Many of these belong to free indigenous peoples mislabeled as colored. A surname, properly understood, is a map. Our job now is to trace it. The role of the future chief. If you are reading this, you are not simply a witness, you are a future chief. You are the living correction to the lie. You must train your mind to see beyond categories. Study the treaties, search the census rolls, reclaim your grandmother's stories. Because identity is not a costume, it is command. The Buzzard Clan says, presence is power, time is territory. Ancestors are activated when you remember. To be classified rightly is not vanity, it is sovereignty. And Ra-Allah says, when we remember who we were, the land will remember who it belongs to. The great misnaming. If I could show you where the bones lay, maybe then you'd stop calling them someone else's ancestors. Ra-Allah, Buzzard Clan Mercenary Chief. You want to know where it started? Not with boats, not with chains. It started with names, lies sealed in ink, bound in books, and spoken in schoolrooms. A misnaming so vast, it changed the course of an entire people. And I say people, not slaves, because before we were caged, we were crowned. Before we were exported, we were experts. And before we were called Africans, we were simply home. They told us we came from elsewhere, that we were snatched and scattered like seeds from a faraway land. But the land I stand on now, this dirt, this red Georgia clay, it remembers me, and I remember it. I am Ra-Allah, mercenary chief of the Buzzard Clan, and before you turn that name into a fable, know this: I wear no feathered robe or tribal drum. My war bonnet is knowledge, and my weapon is memory. I did not ask to awaken. I was summoned by the bones, by the silence in the soil, by the whispered truth that your textbooks dare not echo. The lie was elegant. Make us all foreigners, and then sell us the fantasy of return. Africa became our projected Eden, our imaginary origin story. But it was Carter G. Woodson, one of our own sons, who peeled back the veil. He showed us in census reports, tribal land deeds, missionary journals, that we were here, documented, misclassified, rebranded like cattle, but still undeniably here. The term Negro was an invention, so was colored. They shifted us between boxes, and when the pen proved too slow, they called in the whip. Do you know what it means to be misclassified? It means your enemy gets to write your passport. It means your grandchildren won't know your burial grounds. And worst of all, it means your gods are renamed, your mothers redefined, and your tongue forgotten. See, the greatest abduction wasn't physical, it was metaphysical. But this is not a tale of loss. This is a declaration of return. Let me break it down so even the colonized mind can follow. There were empires here, entire nations of black and copper-skinned people on these lands, long before Columbus laid anchor or De Soto slashed through the South. Mound-building civilizations, naval trade networks, star-reading astronomers, medicine men, water priests, matriarchal leaders, panther warriors, and yes, Buzzard Clan mercenaries. We fought for our own, and sometimes we fought for gold, but never did we forget who we were, until they made us forget on purpose. The buzzard was our clan totem, not because it's pretty, but because it survives. It eats what is dead and makes room for life. That's what we were bred for, to show up after the massacre, repurpose the pain, and turn it into prophecy. And now, in this moment, we begin again, but not as what they called us. No more descendants of slaves, no more African Americans. You are indigenous. You are the soil, not the ship. You are the seed, not the slave. Understand the scope of this deception, the trail of tears. It wasn't just Native Americans walking. It was Black Indians too, reclassified, redefined, and reassigned to the category of freedmen and colored. Entire family lines erased in a bureaucratic stroke. The Buffalo Soldiers. Some of them were used to round up their own cousins, their own people, for the U.S. military during the Indian Wars, used as weapons against tribes they once sat beside in councils. They weren't villains. They were misinformed, soldiers of a system they thought offered freedom, but instead turned them into tools of removal. And Tulsa, that was our empire. Black Wall Street was no fluke. It was the last visible pulse of a suppressed nation. Architects, bankers, aviators, doctors, all descendants of sovereign tribal lines, the buzzards who rebuilt from the bones, torched in a single weekend of envy and violence. This isn't about guilt. This is about clarity. You are not some lost wanderer. You are a future chief. Your ancestors aren't abstract. They left instructions, rituals, recipes, revolts. And I, Ra'ala, I bring the prophecy they whispered in the cotton fields, encoded in quilts, buried beneath ruins and railroads. The prophecy is not a magical spell. It is a formula, a political, spiritual, and cultural roadmap to reclaiming identity. And that is why I write this, to remind you, to rename you, to resurrect you. You were misclassified, but you are not mistaken. You were renamed, but not remade. You were buried, but not broken. Phase 1 begins here with the undoing of the lie. The Buzzard Clan is watching. We eat what is dead to make way for what must rise. And you are rising. Phase 1, Awakening. Chapter 2, The Slaughter of the Buffalo. How black troops were turned against their own. You want to know who broke the buffalo? Look for the black man in uniform, misled by medals, marching west with a rifle that pointed at his cousin's back. Ra'Allah, let me take you into the shadows of a truth that most will never admit. A truth carved into the bones of the plains and hidden behind military monuments and clean-swept textbooks. It begins after the so-called freedom, after Lincoln's pen and the 13th Amendment, after the lash had changed form, traded the whip for the wage, the chain for the contract. A black man could now wear blue, not just rags, but a uniform, a gun, a name. Some of our elders called it pride, but pride, when not rooted in truth, can become the knife that cuts the family tree. These were the Buffalo Soldiers. That's what the Plains tribes called them. Some say it was for the texture of their hair, thick and coarse like the buffalo's mane. Others say it was for their courage and Tulsa, the Black Wall Street you were told was a financial miracle, wasn't some random flourish of black excellence. It was a rebuilding of what had already been done before, a return to our old ways, independent economies, intergenerational wealth, sovereign commerce, even airfields. You see, we are builders by nature. Give us rubble and we'll give you cities. But empires built by the misnamed are still seen as threats. So they burned it down, again. And I want you to see the link. The same government that trained the Buffalo Soldiers to destroy indigenous tribes was the same system that turned a blind eye when bombs dropped on Greenwood Avenue. Different tactics, same aim. Break the spirit of a sovereign people. Make them forget who they are. Make them beg for the crumbs of a nation they once owned. But we are not victims, not in the Buzzard Clan. We are reminders. We feed on the dead truth so that the living can rise. We wear no uniform. Our war paint is made of memory. Our boots are dusty from walking back into forgotten truths. And we are not done. You, future chief, must understand this. The past is not just behind you. It is beneath you. It pulses in the earth you walk. The blood of your ancestors isn't just in your veins, it's in your vision. If you can't see it yet, it's only because the fog of miseducation is still thick in your lungs. But I am here to clear it. I am Ra-Allah, and this is my torch. In your world, they give medals to traitors and call them heroes. But in ours, we lift the veil, so lift it now. Your enemy is not only the man with pale skin. Sometimes it's the one who forgot where his own bones are buried. Do not be that man. We are the children of the buffalo. We are the ghost riders of the plains. We are the fire that never went out, only waited. And our mission now, to rebuild, not with guns, with knowledge, with honor, with unity, but never forget. Before we build again, we must unlearn the lies. Begin here. Buzzards in the city, pigeons, possums, and the snake of sleep. We were never extinct. We were distracted. Ra-Allah. If chapter 2 was a knife pulled from your back, chapter 3 is the mirror held to your face. You want to know why so many of our people wander these cities with 1,000-yard stares, mouths full of slang and stomachs full of smoke. Why every block has a liquor store and every bus stop a broken prophet. It's because the totems of our forgetting are here with us. They've shapeshifted. They live in the alleyways. They sleep in us. Let me name them now. The pigeon, the possum, the snake. Let me explain. The pigeon, the lie of assimilation. You see pigeons everywhere in the city, don't you? Fat, fearless, indifferent. They move through trash and traffic like they belong, but they weren't always like this. They were once doves, messengers, holy birds, wings of hope. Now they pick at crumbs in the concrete and fight each other over scraps. Sound familiar? That's the pigeon spirit, the one that tells you to blend in, to fit in, the one that trains you to ignore your roots so you can keep your job, the one that whispers, "Don't rock the boat," when your spirit screams rebellion. The pigeon is the soul of false survival. We see it in the ones who become mouthpieces for the system, parroting the enemy's language in an accent that used to pray and wind. We see it in the actors, the athletes, the suit wearers who smile at awards shows while their neighborhoods rot. They forgot the buzzard eats truth. It doesn't beg for validation. The snake, the sleep of deception. Now the snake. The snake is smooth. It ain't always evil, but it's always slick. This spirit comes when you think you're woke. It wraps around your mind and tells you Africa is your only home, that your grandma lied when she said her mother had cheekbones like a Choctaw, that your great uncle who told you about the land in Mississippi was just senile. The snake seduces. It says, forget the land, chase the fame, look how many followers you've got. It's the algorithm spirit. It slides into your pocket and tells you what to think. You call it a phone, but the ancestors call it a snare. That's the snake, and it's awake 24/7. The possum, the performance of death. Last comes the possum. The possum plays dead. It ain't dead. It's watching, waiting, but it lays there, still, hoping the danger will pass. That's the spirit of our neighborhoods now. You think it's all gone, hope, power, memory, but it's not. It's just acting. And too many of us got good at pretending we're powerless. We say we're broke. We say we're lost. We say we don't know who we are. That's possum talk. But inside, there's a blaze waiting to be fed. There's a buzzard feather twitching in the marrow. The possum is the mask we wear when we've been disappointed too many times. We've been taught to play dead, so we wouldn't rise. But let me break this wide open for you. All three of these spirits are tied to one man. His name was Alex Haley. Yeah, that Alex Haley. Roots. Kunta Kinte. The African fantasy that swallowed a whole generation. He was the storyteller who made you forget your grandmother's memory. The one who gave you a slave name and told you to be proud of it. Who took the bones of Chief Thunder Eagle's research, diluted it with Hollywood syrup, and served it to a starving people. Haley's pen was dipped in colonial ink. He said, "You're from Africa. You're not from here." And just like that, the whole tribe walked away from their birthright. This was a theft as great as any land grab, because identity is the soil in which legacy grows. Take away the soil, the roots shrivel. And the possum curled up. The pigeon tried to fly. The snake smiled. But this is where the Buzzard Clan returns. We are not sleeping. We know we're not pigeons. And we eat snakes for breakfast. We remember. We remember what Carter G. Woodson wrote when he said, "If you can control a man's thinking, you don't have to worry about his actions." He was not speaking in metaphor. He was warning us that education was the most dangerous battlefield, and we lost that war for nearly a century. But now the Buzzard Clan is rising again, and you, future chief, are being called to burn the feathers of forgetfulness and wear the mantle of memory. You are not from Africa. You are from Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, Oklahoma, New York, Detroit, Chicago, Los Angeles. You are Turtle Island's lost son, and it's time you stopped sleeping. Let me give you this commandment from the elders of the Buzzard Clan. Presence is power. You do not have to perform to exist. You do not have to conform to survive. And you do not have to run from where you stand. That is how the snake is defeated. Pain is currency. Spend it well. Invest it in legacy. Build from your bruises. That is how the possum wakes up. Code before comfort. We follow laws older than America. The law of the drum, the law of the land, the law of spirit. That is how the pigeon returns to dovehood. We are not broken. We are not broken. We are buried. And now we rise like buzzards off the rooftops, out the alleyways, out the broken schoolyards and the churches turned condos. Our flight is not pretty. It is not polished. It is prophetic. We are what comes after the fall. We are what feeds when the old lies rot. And we are what circles the sky, waiting to reclaim the bones. We are not just descendants. We are assigned. Ra Allah. I will now tell you what they feared most. We weren't waiting for liberation. We were chosen to return after the fall. The Buzzard Clan is not a metaphor. It is a system of living omens, a code of being carved into the soul of every so-called black man walking this land, whether he knows it or not. When you feel like the last one alive in a city full of noise, but something ancient whispers through the wind, that's not loneliness. That's a signal. Let me give it to you straight, future chief. We don't wear feathers. We wear creases in our brows. We don't chant at powwows. We speak prophecy on the porch, on the prison phone, on the podcast. This is savage sovereignty. This is the Buzzard Clan's forgotten code, and I will now reveal it. What is a living omen? A living omen is a man who walks with consequence. He knows that his presence shakes rooms, turns tides, alters generations. He is not trying to be saved, he is trying to be read, like a warning etched in skyglyphs. The Buzzard Clan walks among cities, war zones, barbershops, schoolyards, prisons, and pulpits. We do not announce ourselves. We are known by what follows us. Where you see one, you'll see many, but you may never know you saw them at all. Why? Because we don't march under a tribal banner. We are the unmarked wind, mercenary chiefs. We don't pledge to nations, we pledge to the assignment. The ethos of the Buzzard Clan. Let me now recite our pillars, the 7 truths and the 4 ancient editions, passed in silence, taught through fire. 1. Presence is power. We do not perform, we do not audition. Our mere presence in a place is a command. When the chief walks in, the room shifts. That's not ego, that's the echo of thousands. 2. Code before comfort. You will suffer if you stand for truth. Stand anyway. Codes are older than laws, older than religion, older than government. Buzzard Clan follows code, always. 3. Pain is currency. They tried to make us ashamed of pain. They forgot it's the most valuable resource we have. Convert it, shape it, spend it wisely. It is how empires are reborn. 4. Ancestors are activated. The past is not gone. It is recruited. Every chant, every song, every scream in the silence, they hear you. Buzzard chiefs speak with our entire bloodline. 5. Time is territory. We don't chase clocks. We occupy seasons. A chief knows when to act, when to rest, when to strike. You must claim time like land. Defend it. 6. The unity of Tecumseh. Tecumseh's vision was never lost. It was delayed. His call for a union of all native and misclassified people wasn't myth. It was unfinished strategy. Buzzard chiefs carry his flame. 7. Savage sovereignty. They called us savages to erase our genius. Now we reclaim it, not with apologies, but with power. The land remembers, so must we. The 4 forgotten codes. These were only whispered, but I carved them in my exile. Let them now rise. A. No tree, no flame. We carry no flag, no single symbol. The buzzard is enough. You know it when you see it. To wear no mark is to carry every mark. B. The buzzard feeds when others starve. While other tribes flee famine, we thrive, not because we devour our brothers, but because we feed on the truth others fear to face. That is our fuel. C. Dreams, our strategy. The subconscious is not fantasy. It is the first battlefield. Chiefs train while they sleep. Dreams carry orders. Visions are instructions. You must learn to read what is sent. D. The chief walks alone, but never is. You will feel alone, but you are watched. Ancestors, other buzzards, even the wind. Leadership is not company, it is clarity. Do not beg to be understood. The mercenary code. A buzzard chief has no allegiance but the assignment. We don't swear oaths to flags, we swear them to the omen. You see, the buzzard don't kill, the buzzard watches. The buzzard eats what others leave behind. He flies over battlefields not as a coward but as a witness. He sees what the winners bury and what the historians forget, and so did we. We buried our songs under gospel choirs. We hid our totems inside family Bibles. We made Sunday our ceremony because they wouldn't let us dance on Saturday. Our grandfathers didn't stop being Creek or Yamasee or Guale. They were just too tired to keep reminding folks who they were. So we were colored, then Negro, then Black. But the clan stayed alive. We became invisible, mercenary, sovereign, from trail to empire. Fast forward, now we're in Oklahoma. Our people who survived forced marches and smallpox blankets started buying land, building towns, opening businesses. Tulsa was not a fluke. Tulsa was a resurrection. Those weren't just Negroes. Those were the children of the trail, armed with the memory of commerce, ritual, and self-governance. Buzzard Clan, Panther Clan, Turtle Clan. We remembered what community looked like when the world tried to burn it out of us. And we thrived. We had planes in the sky, oil in the land, choirs and jazz in the same damn building. But as always, when black shines too bright, the pale hand comes with kerosene. From empire to ashes. What they did to Greenwood, to Black Wall Street, wasn't just about envy. It was about erasure. It was about severing the memory of the trail. Because if you knew you were the same people who walked that trail in 1830 and rose again in 1921, you might realize that resurrection is your inheritance. And they couldn't let you believe that. A living omen. And you've been handed a name, a story, and a struggle that don't belong to you. You've been told you came from huts, that you were sold, that you were lucky to be rescued. But listen, you are not the rescued. You are the return. You are the one the trail was afraid of, the one the ashes of Tulsa could not bury. You are a living omen, son of the Buzzard Clan, a sovereign in disguise. They gave you nothing. No flag, no land, no family crest. And yet you carry every tribe in your blood, every ancestor in your back, every uprising in your stride. You are not African. You are not lost. You are America's firstborn, reborn. This book was never just words. It was your rite of passage, your code, your license to remember. So now we close this chapter, not as an end, but as a call to become more than what you were told. Become Buzzard Clan. Become future chief. Become super chief. And when the others ask you where you're from, you tell them, I come from the wind. My totem is the omen. My flag is the silence. And my people, we never died. We just waited. Now go and write the next chapter with your life.